are there to please Allah, to bring every single bit of our being into submission to Allah, to please Allah with everything that we say and do. Without the balance, people get trapped into believing they must deny the physical self and mortify the flesh to achieve perfection of the spirit. Now, it's amazing when you look at this word mortification of the flesh, because in the tainted King James Version, there are fables that have been built in that talk about Paul, actually the Apostle Paul, in this man-made version of the book, talks about mortifying the flesh. What does mortify mean? The root of mortify is from the word we get mortician. Kill the flesh. Because morticians deal with dead people, right? Who wants to be dead?
Not yet.
Can't serve Allah very well when you're dead unless it's sadaqah jari. Unless you've left something behind that continuously is making dawah or bringing people to Islam or teaching people, your life which you died is not going to be making much of a difference. Mortification also is done by flagellants. There are certain religions that people actually beat themselves. And they do this symbolically, thinking that by beating themselves they're going to mortify their flesh, and that's going to affect their soul. I don't want to call any names because we don't do that. We're a judgment-free zone.
Okay.
We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings here. We want Shias to come to our class, alhamdulillah, and they won't come if we call them out like that. So, when certain people believe that in order to develop their soul, and I used to think this, that I must embarrass myself. So when I became a Muslim, I wanted to acquire humility. That was one of the reasons that I wore the jalabiyah. It's one of the reasons that I had that ugly beard down to here. Because it was humbling for me to make myself as unattractive as possible.
You were still cute.
My wife said I was still cute. She's prejudiced. All right. I love you, dear.
Jalapia is eating sweet. Jalebi.
Yes. So we don't have to do all of that. The beauty in Islam is that all we have to do is be like the sun and the moon and be in obedience to God. Be ruled by God. Be ruled by the criterion of right and wrong. These people that go too far regard the forest and other solitary places as ideal for spiritual development, and fail to see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the whole universe as a masjid and a spiritual training ground. These people are deluded to see and believe that the hustle and the bustle of life does not have to interfere with their meditation or their meditation, and their spiritual growth. And we do hear this. How many of you hear this when you're talking to people? I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you pray 5 times a day. People say this all the time to me. I can't imagine doing that. You mean you actually stop what you're doing and you pray 5 times a day? Yeah. And that makes me do better at what I am doing. Because when I go back, I'm refreshed. I'm not stressed. In Islam, we do not withdraw from the world to develop spiritually. We marry, we trade, we have children, educate ourselves, etc. So we don't go sit in the banana trees and say Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar all day for 20 hours a day and then think that's going to make it for us. It's ibadah, it's worship. For us to go get married. The Prophet Muhammad said, young people, if you can afford to do so, go get married. It's a command of Allah. Because Allah, the wisdom is that if you get married, there's a department in your life that's being handled that actually makes you more focused. Because when that department's not being handled, it's hard to be focused sometimes. A lot of wisdom in that. conflicting thinking resulted in the evolution of two divergent ideas regarding our ability to excel. One became survival of the fittest, whereby we slave to surround ourselves with every material comfort, rendering ourselves similar to the animals. We fly like birds. We continuously are developing aeroplanes that will go faster than the previous one, smoother than the previous one, and be more comfortable than the previous one. We are continuously swimming like fish. Every couple of years, a new cruise ship comes that's faster than the one before, more luxurious than the one before, and we try to swim like the fish. We try to run like horses. Meanwhile, the Quran says, go easily upon the earth. Move upon the earth with humility. So we want faster motorcycles. We want faster horses and faster camels. We want Lamborghinis and Ferraris. It'll go faster and faster. And then we terrorize like wolves. If you look at the animal kingdom, my beloved brothers and sisters, a whole bunch of deer will be in a field, and a lion will come. All of those deer know that that lion is only going to take one. Just enough to feed itself. It's not going to go postal and kill all of them. That's only humans that do that, because they're not submitted to God. The other idea is that our senses should not be in submission to the one that created them, or subdued or conquered by the criterion of our Creator. There are people that will tell you that you're being controlled. You don't have your own thoughts. Well, that's a great way to be, folks. If you have the thoughts of Allah, that is the criterion. You're using the guidebook of life. You will never be more successful than you will be using that. But the world would like to teach you different. They would like to teach you a Western philosophy that says that you are the master of your destiny, not God. That you are the captain of your ship, not God. That you get to choose what you want to do. And then your freedom of choice is twisted. And who does it please?
Yourself only.
Yourself.
Yourself only.
Yourself or the shaitan.
Shaitan.
Allah has appointed the human soul as His Khalifa, as His vicegerent in the world. He did not appoint us to be imams or to be rabbis that sell out to our egos. Time magazine did an article about 10 years ago. And in that article they said that 50% of the ministers in the United States of America admitted they did not even believe in God. But they did it for the money. So for $100,000 a year, you can stand in front of people and talk like I'm talking to you. I'm not getting $100,000 a year. I just want to make sure you don't misunderstand me. Have a whole lot of people thinking you're the cat's meow, the best thing since bread and butter. But in reality, you are simply perhaps doing that and you don't even believe in what you're doing, but your ego is being stroked. Your amani is being stroked. Your desires are being stroked. And you are a slave to your desire, not to God.
Muslims don't
So-
get $100,000.
No, I didn't say they did. I don't know. If you ever find a Muslim that gets $100, I'd like you to arrange me to have lunch with him because I want to find out what his secret is. Average imam gets around $30,000 a year. They work 7 days a week and they lead 5 prayers a day. And every time they go to the masjid, somebody grabs them and says, by the way, my cousin's in town this weekend. Can we get married tomorrow? In the other face, you plan it. You have an office which protects you and a secretary out front where they can't get to you. We're the most exposed people and the least paid.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. We do it for Allah.
Overworked, less pay.
That's right. Overworked and underpaid. But we're getting paid by Allah, inshallah.
Yeah,
And that will be the greatest payment on that day. That's the payment I'm looking for. I'm not looking for payment in this world. I want my payment in the hereafter. because I'm doing just fine in this world. I do not need any palatial mansions. If Allah gives it to me, alhamdulillah, but I'm not looking for it and I don't need it. I just need to know that my heart is in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has invested it with a certain authority and given it certain responsibilities and obligations for the fulfillment of which He has endowed it with the best and most suitable physical frame. Do you see the connection of what I'm saying with these two verses, folks? Do you? Okay, alhamdulillah, because you seem like either we didn't have enough coffee today or you're not quite sure. I don't know. But this is the tafsir that I see in this. I see that when a people are a people of the book, and their very leaders can tell you what you want to hear because of their desires. This tells me what my desires can do to me. And it's a warning to me that I need to look at that. I need to look at that subject matter. The body has been created with the sole object of allowing the soul to use it in the exercise of its authority and the fulfillment of its duties and responsibilities. The body is not a prison for the soul, but its workshop or factory. And if the soul is to grow and develop, it is only through this workshop given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why so many Muslims, when they come from what I call controlled environments, and I've had many friends over the years from the Indo-Pak world who said to me, you know, Imam, I didn't really practice Islam. I knew what was socially acceptable. When the adhan was called, I prayed. I respected my parents, but I really was not a spiritual being. But when I came to America, I had to practice Islam or I was going to get lost. So this is the workshop. The world is the workshop for you to purify yourself in. The world is the workshop for you to overcome your desires and not get sucked in by what the world wants to sell you. This world is not a place of punishment in which the human soul unfortunately finds itself, but it is a field in which Allah has sent it to work and do its duty towards Him. If you listen to some people talk, they act like the world is a punishment. And then, as a consequence, or subsequently, there are people that don't want to live anymore because they do not choose to conquer or to fight in this marathon run towards Allah, but they give in to the world. Imam Ghazali said that the heart of a believer is like the mayor or the king of that being. And when the heart of the believer is filled with the Holy Quran, then you have the best mayor. You have the best king for your being. And that heart will actually feed the rest of your being. That heart will determine what you look at, and what you say, and what you listen to, and where you go, and what you do. Whether you have a boyfriend or not, whether you drink or not, whether you go to the clubs or not. Your heart will dictate what you do because it will dictate it based on the Quran that prepares you for this marathon experience in life. So the body is not a prison for the soul, but it's workshop or factory. The world is not a place of punishment. The world is a place of blessing. The world is a place where you can earn your space with Allah, your space in paradise, where you can earn the highest ranks with Allah. That's a blessing, folks. That's something for which we say Shukranallah. Thank you, Allah. Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar. Allah gave me life and gave me 56 years in September. If I lived in September, He gave me 56 years to earn blessings. If I use it and submit to Him, I can only win. If I don't use it for that which it was given to me, I'm a loser. Spiritual development should not take the form of a believer turning away from this workshop and retreating into the banana trees or into a corner. We should live and work in it and give the best account of ourselves that we can. It is in the nature of an exam for us. How many people have done the GRE here?
What is
Anybody?
GRE?
It's the graduate record exam. I had to do it when I did my master's. You've done it? Yeah. How much time did you spend working on that exam, preparing for it?
Maybe one month.
You did a month, you did months. I did a couple of months. I bought all kinds of books to help me have a higher score. How many books are you buying to help your score with the law? This exam is so much more important than the GRE or any other exam you'll ever take in this life.
Quran, Hadith.
It is in the nature of an exam for us. Every aspect and sphere of life, the home, the family, the neighborhood, the society, the Winn-Dixie, Publix, Walmart, TJ Maxx, the office, the factory, the school, the courts, the police station, the government, issues of peace and war, all represent exams which we have been called upon to answer. Every single moment of the day, we have an exam before us. If we leave most of the answers blank, we are bound to fail the exam. Success and development are only possible if we devote our whole self and life to this exam and attempt to answer all the questions on the exam. Anytime we disobey Allah, we are choosing the wrong answer on the exam. Anytime we choose something that doesn't please Allah, we are fouling up our exam. And we're not going to get into the great university that we want to get into called paradise. Because let me tell you, Yale and Harvard and all the great universities of this world have nothing on paradise. And that's the exam that we're trying to pass. The world is the growing ground for our soul. It is the most fertilized, it's a fertile ground for growing and developing the human soul. But if you are confused by your desire and your ego, it will contaminate. It will be the biggest toxin to your soul. If the world looks attractive to you, it's a delusion, then that becomes a toxin to your soul. And it becomes a night when you didn't have a good sleep, and then you don't perform well on the exam. Islam rejects right-wing and left-wing approaches and condemns the idea of sitting in the banana trees to make dhikr in order to develop spiritually. Yes, we make dhikr, but we do it while we're on our way to work. We do it while we're on our way to do whatever we're doing. We sit in our car and we say, Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. And when we get there, we're high. But we're high on our love for Allah. We're not depressed when we get there because we're experiencing the power of Allah and the power of praising Allah. Try it. I used to drive for 42 miles when I was doing my first undergraduate degree. And all the way there, if I wasn't studying and driving, I would do dhikr. And don't do that. Don't study and drive, folks. It's not a good idea. Yeah, I would hold note cards in front and study. Not a good idea. Allah looked after me and the angels. But the best days of my life were the days that I did dhikr all the way there, alone in my car. When I got there, I was ready to conquer the world. Spiritual development takes place inside the world, not outside of it. You can't escape it, folks. And when you escape it, it will hurt you. And it will affect the score of your exam. The real place for the growth of the soul is in the midst of life, and not in solitary places of spiritual hibernation. It is our duty to use all the powers which we have been given in accordance with the divine will. We utilize to the fullest extent all the faculties and potentialities bestowed upon us for seeking Allah's pleasure and Allah's approval. In our dealings with other people, we behave in such a way as to please Allah. All his energies are directed toward regulating the affairs of this world in the way in which Allah wants them to be regulated. And that's all the believer's energies. I try hard in my slides not to use his or her, because it's about believers. So if you'll notice, that's the first slide I think that had his in it, unless I was referring to Allah. And Allah is beyond his and her too. Allah is not gender specific in Islam. Allah transcends he-ness or she-ness, because that has limitations. There are no limitations with Allah. The better we do this with a sense of responsibility, obedience, and humility, and with the object of seeking the pleasure of our Lord, the nearer we will be to Allah. In Islam, spiritual development is synonymous with nearness to Allah. We will not be able to get near to Allah if we are lazy and disobedient. Distance from Allah signifies spiritual failure and decay. And I want to go back that when you are picking and choosing, and you are doing some things for Allah, and the rest of the things for your desire, then who are you emulating? Are you emulating the Quran, or are you emulating these Israelites? I'll let you answer for yourself. But you know in your heart what you're doing. Either you are fulfilling your desires, or you're fulfilling the desires of Allah. So I did not get to the part of this presentation about woe to those that do that. It is 12:30, and I want us to be able to caravan safely. Get somebody's phone number that's in front of you in case you lose them, so that you'll get to Dr. Shahada's safely. Please park in the lot beside Dr. Shahada's. Thornley is a private street. It is a very narrow street, and there is a full lot. We've asked you, please, park in the lot next to Dr. Shahada's house. How many people heard that? Raise your hand. How many people didn't hear that? Raise your hand. Okay. Please park in the lot next to Dr. Shahada's house. There's a full lot there, and if you park on the street, people cannot egress and ingress into that
Why
neighborhood.
everybody doesn't follow you guys?
Well, it's a good idea to follow us, but get somebody's number in front of you just in the event. You know what it's like traveling on 417. Some people will use 417 to get there. Some people will use I-4. However you go, just make sure that you stay in touch with someone so that you get there safely. I love you all for the sake of Allah. That which I've said today that was good came from Allah. If I said anything wrong, please forgive me. Please pray for me and know that that was from my own ego and my desire. So I love you for the sake of Allah, and I hope everybody's listening. Same place next week, next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.